Hello everyone. In our previous video, we watched how to integrate Instamojo payment gateway using PHP. In this video, we will learn about how to save user data in SQL and updating the payment status using webhook. But first, let me explain the payment flow and the scope of webhook. On a successful payment, the payment gateway shows a success message to the user and you will receive an email from the payment gateway. But most of the time it is not sufficient because our server don't know what happened to the payment. We can tell the payment gateway to post payment details and we can automate so many things. For example, we can send an automated email to our customer on a successful payment. We can send a tax invoice to our customer. We can deliver digital goods such as music, video, download links, source codes and so many things. We can send orders to our supplier on customer's order. For example, we can automatically place an order to a manufacturer or a supplier. It helps us to maintain the stock. We can do so many things. We can open so many possibilities by implementing webhook. Now let's see how it is done. In case of necessary, you can download the complete code as a zip file or you can type along with my video tutorial. First, I am going to log in into my hosting account. Here I have a file manager and PHP MyAdmin. Inside my PHP MyAdmin, I am creating a new table. Table name is payments. By default, it has 4 columns and I am adding 5 more. Our first column name is ID. It is integer and let's allocate 12 characters for the ID. Our second column name is name and I am allocating 99 characters. Sorry, I forgot something. Our ID is auto increment and primary. Then email also varchar 99. Then mobile, here I am allocating 15 characters varchar. Then order ID varchar 64. Then reference ID, that also 64 character. Then payment ID, it is also varchar 64. Then payment status, payment STS, I am allocating 12 characters. Then remarks, 99 characters. Now we can save this data table. Now I am going to export this table. You can simply import this table if necessary. For example, now I am deleting this table. Now I can click import and import the SQL file. It will save your time. Now our SQL database is ready. Now let's go back to our payments.php. It is the same file created in our previous video. Here I am going to add few more lines. On a successful data post, we get payment URL. but sometimes there may be an error. We must verify the status of our server response. Let me show you something. Here I am commenting out these two lines and I am going to echo the response text from the server. Let's save this and try. This is the server response JSON file. Here we can see success equal to true. We have to verify this using our code. $success equal to $decode success. If success equal to true, then we can divert our user to the payments page. Else echo $response. Now I am going to make an error by changing my test ID and token, because most of you will do the same mistake. Your downloaded source code will not have my key and token. Now let's try our code. Here we are getting success equal to false, and we are getting a message from the server says invalid auth token. Now we can restore our key and token and start writing our code for SQL data entry. Here I am including connect.php. Please let me show the file. This file has my login credentials for SQL and I cannot show these details due to security issue. In line number 9, $connection is equal to new MySQLi, hostname, SQL username, SQL password and SQL database name. This single line will make a connection with the MySQL server. You should use your hostname, your username, your password and your database name. Then in line number 11, I am checking if there is any error exist. If yes, it will die with displaying connection error. Now let's open our payments.php. Here I am going to declare a few more variables. First one is reference ID. It is supplied by Instamojo along with the long URL in the name of ID. So then order ID equal to date, year, month, day, hour and second. It will return a 12-digit number. We will use this number for our internal reference. This number is mandatory if you are changing your payment gateway to some other service provider such as PayUmoney, Cash-Free or Razorpay. So let's keep it as a future proof for our upcoming projects. Now I am going to write our code for SQL data entry. $data entry is equal to insert into payments. This is our table name. Then we should line up our column names. Let's copy our column names from our database and we should add a comma. In this method, we can avoid spelling mistakes. Then values needs to be lined up with the single quote and comma. Name, $name. Email, $email. Mobile, $mobile. Then order ID and reference ID. Then payments ID not paid, payment status, that is also not paid. Then I keep remarks as blank. Now let's query this data entry. If a connection query $data entry, if it is true, then we should divert our user to the payment URL. Else echo connection failed. Now let's save this and try this code. Sorry friends, we have something wrong with the line number 48. Okay, it's due to missing single quote on connect.php. Okay, now let's try again. Okay, now it is working perfectly fine. Now let's check data entry in our database. Okay, it is updated. Now we should add webhook URL. We should provide complete URL with the HTTP or HTTPS, not just the file name. In case of necessary, you can add a redirect URL, but now I am not doing that. In Instamojo, webhook function will not work with test mode. So here I am going to change my credentials to live. And for security reason, I should hide this information. You should use your live key ID and your live token. Now let's save and test our code. It is redirecting to live payments page. Here we are not going to make any payments. Now we can start writing our code for Instamojo webhook. Instamojo webhook documentation page clearly specifies the posted data type as URL encoded, and we have a basic example code for handling this post. From here I am copying only one line. $data is equal to $_post. Now I am going to save this data as a simple JSON file. You can ask why. It helps us to debug, and we will have a complete backup of posted webhook data as a JSON file. It is my general practice to writing codes. $JSON is equal to JSON underscore encode $data. Now we need a file name to save this data. It should be unique. So here I am generating using a date. Year, month, day, hour and second. Then we can save this data into a specific folder. File underscore put contents Instamojo webhook post slash file name, then $JSON. It will save the file as JSON if anything is posted into our URL. Then echo data received and saved. This line is a formal reply to Instamojo server. You must reply something, otherwise you will not get HTTP status 200 and Instamojo will mark it as invalid URL or URL without response. Now we can test this by using Instamojo webhook testing tool. It is available in the Instamojo website. Now data is posted and we are getting a response code 200. Let's check what we received through Instamojo. Sorry friends, we forgot something. We are not created our folder, so it is not saved. Let's create that folder and try again. Now the posted webhook is saved as JSON file. Here we are having something posted in the name of Mac. It is the secret code between payment gateway and our server. Now let's see how to calculate the Mac. It is available in Instamojo website. I am just simply copying the code from here. Here you must pass your security key or salt. It is available in your API keys section of your Instamojo dashboard. $salt is equal to, sorry friends, I should hide this information for security reasons. Here we have two scenarios. Mac is matching and Mac is not matching. If Mac is matching, then it can be failed or credit. First I am going to write the code for credit and Mac is matching. Include connect.php. It will make a connection with our database. Then $data entry is equal to update payments set, and then we need some column names. These names can be copied from payments.php. Let's do that now. Here we will set the payment ID and payment status to the corresponding reference ID. Let's add a dollar symbol and create variables. $reference ID is equal to $data payment request ID. $reference ID is equal to $data payment request ID. Then payment ID is equal to $data payment ID. Then payment status equal to $data status. Now we can set reference ID is equal to $reference ID. Payment ID is equal to $payment ID. Sorry friends, reference ID will not come here. Payment status is equal to $payment status, where reference ID is equal to $reference ID. Now we should query this data inquiry. If connection query data entry, if it is true, then we should reply as thanks for the post, data updated in SQL. Else, thanks for the post, data not updated in SQL. We can copy the same code for failed transaction, and we can copy the same code for Mac is not matching, but in payment status we should update as Mac is not matching. It will be regardless of payment status. Now we can send webhook for the payment using webhook testing tool. Now let's check our database. The payment ID is updated and the payment status also updated for the specific payment. From this point, every user will have different requirements. For example, here we can write email script for sending automatic email, or we can post data to another API. We have so many possibilities. Let me know your requirement and I will write the specific script. My charges are always reasonable and it is starting with just 500 rupees. Our code is not completed. Now we have a problem with the failed transactions. Sometimes failed transaction message comes after a credit message. For example, your customer trying to pay and the transaction is failed. Then your customer retry with the same link and paid the amount with a different payment method, and your database is updated as credit. But now let's assume your failed transaction message for your old transaction is coming from Instamojo. Now your database is updated with failed status. So your user is actually paid, but your database will be updated as a failed transaction. So we have to check this. If your payment status is already credit, then you should not update your SQL database as failed transaction. Now let's do that. Here in the failed transaction, I am checking if the user is already paid. $SQL is equal to select all from payments where reference ID is equal to $reference ID and payment status is equal to credit. Then $result is equal to MySQL query $connection, $SQL. And total number of results $num is equal to MySQL number of rows $result. If number of rows equal to 1, or we can say if $num is greater than 0, then we should exit the code with the error message, exit user already paid. We are completed our code, and this is the way of integrating Instamojo webhook with your server. From here, every user will have different requirement. Some will create email to their client. Some will be writing emails with attachment. Some will be providing login access to their users. So from this point, every user requirement will be different. In case of necessary, you can contact me for developing your web application, and my charges are very reasonable and lowest in the market. In case of necessary, then please contact me. If this video is helpful, then hit like and subscribe this channel. Thank you. Bye bye.